Good evening. Thank you for the Mayor's Office, the IT Department, and VHB for hosting this event. In today's world, we need the internet to adequately address many of our daily needs. We are holding this meeting today as the first step toward the formulation of Digital Equity Plan. Digital Equity Plan refers to the concept of ensuring that all individuals and communities have fair and equal access to digital technology, including the internet, computers, and mobile phones, as well as skills and knowledge to effectively use them. Whether we are shopping, learning, managing our finances, conducting business, or seeking health care, we often go online to do so. Many people in Massachusetts can't do this because the internet is too slow or is too expensive. Moreover, many people don't have the appropriate device to navigate the internet. Or maybe they do, but they don't fully understand how to use them. Adding to this, residents are worried about, some of the residents really concerned about the risk of using the internet. By the way, I know a few that they're really concerned about using the internet, so it's really concerning. The plan will lean into these challenges with articulate solutions for addressing these problems. Tonight, we want to hear all about your personal experience and ideas you may have. We thank you all for coming and thank you in advance for your contribution in these discussions.
Thank you, Lamar. Eloquently put. I think there's a lot of overlapping layers to this, to digital equity planning, and it's really increasingly important every year as people are doing more and more of the business that Omar mentioned online. So the digital divide, which has been a term that's been discussed for decades, has really become more and more of an urgent problem, which I think was thrown into stark relief during the pandemic, when there was some students at home without good access to the internet who suffered, sometimes had to start their school year over again, and so many other issues that really came up during the pandemic. Because of that, state agencies, federal agencies are really rallying around the topic like they haven't done for a while. Again, the digital divide is not a new concept, but it's got a lot of momentum right now. And we can hear a little bit more from Mark in a bit in terms of an update from what's going on at the federal level. But really there's support for bridging the digital divide, and there's dollars to help address the issues that go along with that. So really our charge is to help the city of Easthampton to understand what the major challenges are relating to digital equity and articulate a roadmap by which you can begin to address those challenges. It's only a few months that we'll be with you working on this plan, but really the key outcome is a document that really identifies and prioritizes the goals that y'all have for addressing digital equity. By the way, I'm Luke Mitchell from VHB. We're doing 5 of these right now across the state. 3 of them are in Metro Boston. This is one, and then we're doing another one out west in northern Berkshire County. There's a lot of parallels between what you guys are going through and what they're going through in northern Berkshire County in terms of few internet service providers, which means you don't have a lot of competition, which means prices can go up, reliability can go down. I know it's something that's been talked a lot about throughout central and western Massachusetts. MBI is the Massachusetts Broadband Institute. They're the group that we're reporting to. They hired us to prepare this plan. They recognize the importance of these issues and the nuances of them in central and western Massachusetts, and how so many of these communities, specifically certain parts of the communities, are underserved or unserved. So I don't want that to become the only focus of the Easthampton Digital Equity Plan, but it's an important one. we got to focus on looking at the map, which districts in town are underserved or unserved. How does that relate to the location of marginalized communities, for example, subsidized housing, but not only subsidized housing, and looking at really how it layers up with income, because really we want to make sure that marginalized groups are given the focus in this plan. But again, it's not only about being underserved and unserved. It's also about devices and access to devices. And it's also about digital literacy skill sets. There's a lot of segments of the population who lack digital literacy skill sets. It's becoming more and more of a problem as we do more stuff online. So part of engaging with the community is to figure out what those issues are and to understand what resources the community has in place now to help address that through trainings and things like that, and whether there's any additional things that are needed, and if so, where can you find the dollars for that? So I'll just jump into the slides here, sorry. So here's our agenda. We introduce the project, define what digital equity is for those who aren't as familiar with the term. We can talk about some baseline conditions in Easthampton that we've uncovered through our research online. Talk about key public resources in Easthampton and how they plug into this. And then we want to hear from you guys. So the idea we had was that we could have 3 information stations. One regarding internet access, a second regarding digital literacy, and a third regarding digital devices. So what we'd encourage you guys to do once we get to that portion of the meeting is mill around the room, stop at each station. We'll each be at one of them so we can have a conversation. Please share any insights or ideas that you guys have, and we'll be sure to chronicle everything. And then if we still have time at the end, we can do some breakout discussions. This is our team. Julie is not here, Krista is. Kurt and Steve are not here, but they're also important members of our team. Some of you guys have met them on virtual calls. But they have decades of experience, especially Steve has decades of experience working around the country on infrastructure issues. So he's going to be an important part of the dialogue, and we'll certainly bring him back to the table soon. So, as I mentioned, we're working in Easthampton. The goals are really, number 1, guide the city in decision-making and investments. And 2, prepare the city to apply for funding. So I mentioned funding, obviously that's an important part of it. The question is, what funding is available and what does it take to obtain the funding? All these programs are competitive, but we will be advising you on what's out there now. It's always a shifting landscape. We can give you a snapshot in time of what's available now. It's the best that you can do to go after it. And maybe I'll pause here. Mark, if you could share a few words. It would be great to hear from you. Mark is from Senator Ed Markey's office, and he graciously offered to come by and share some thoughts with us tonight. So if you can jump in. Sure.
Oh, great. Yeah, thanks so much, Luke. My name is Mark. I'm a regional assistant with Senator Ed Markey's office, and I just wanted to share a little bit about what's going on at the federal level in terms of digital equity, digital literacy, broadband access, all that sort of thing. Because there's a lot of exciting things happening, a lot of opportunities coming up, including money that we helped get, Senator Murray helped get in the American Rescue Plan Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law that is being used right now for digital equity planning meetings. So that's part of what's gone through MBI and has landed us here. Super exciting. In particular, we're looking at upwards of $523 million brought back to Massachusetts for broadband access and digital equity work from the federal level in the sort of historic investments that we've made over the past couple of years. And that $523 million in a whole bunch of different places. So there's $121 million for the Affordable Connectivity Program. Up to that, the Affordable Connectivity Program is a program at the federal level to provide $30 of relief per month for income-constrained individuals on their broadband bills. There's $97 million for the Emergency Connectivity Fund, which is meant to connect public entities with providing internet access, providing hotspots, things like that. And an exciting update that we have on the Emergency Connectivity Fund. Well, the first thing isn't an exciting update. It's unfortunately that fund is draining of money and is running out of money. But the exciting update that we have is that the FCC is exploring rulemaking possibilities to allow the E-rate program that the FCC runs to do the same work that the Emergency Connectivity Fund is doing, providing money for libraries and schools and things like that to provide hotspots to young people and students and people in need in the community. The other exciting thing, I think, in terms of things that aren't talking about numbers and money, is that the FCC just last Thursday opened their rulemaking process for the restoration of net neutrality, which Senator Markey thinks is incredibly important in terms of ensuring digital equity. It's not just having broadband delivered to your door, but it's also being able to access the internet once you have it. Being able to get online in a free and open internet is what net neutrality provisions and that whole rulemaking process of net neutrality tries to do. It protects consumers, it allows us to be safer online, makes a more equal, free, open internet. So super, super important that we're seeing the restoration of net neutrality now with the FCC. I just want to quickly just mention that it's meetings exactly like this that Senator Markey and all of the different crafters of these different investments, including our partner in the Senate, Senator Warren, we're anticipating when we pass the American Rescue Plan Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, all the super historic investments that we just made, digital equity planning that is incredibly important now, especially modern day, where broadband access is as important as electricity and water and gas access. I mean, that's how I pay my electricity and my gas and all that, my water bill and things like that is through the internet. So Senator Mark has been a real fighter in this space for a very long time now, so I wanted to share those updates with you all. And welcome also any suggestions, things that you might have cropping up, if you want to mill around during the meeting and let me know. You can bring back to the Senator's office. Always like to hear. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mike. So here is our timeline. We kicked it off during the summer. We conducted some stakeholder sessions with the schools, with IT people in Easthampton and others. Jenny can speak a little more to that. So after tonight, which is the first public meeting, we're really going to put pen to paper, having spoken with the stakeholders, with the community, and start to draft up a plan in terms of what our findings are, and really, as I said, mapping everything out. Let's take a look at the map and just start layering things up to understand what the baseline is, and then start to identify goals and objectives. And we'll come back for a second public meeting date to be determined. We'll synthesize everything and present the digital equity plan to the community. So quickly defining digital equity, I spoke about the digital divide. That's the gap between those who can afford access and those who can't. Digital inclusion is the activities which help to bridge the digital divide. And digital equity is the goal that we're all working towards, in which everybody has equal access to the internet. It's not based on whether or not you can afford it, but it really is seen more as a public good like water or the postal service, something like that. These are the three categories, as I mentioned. Broadband, who has access? Devices, does everybody have the devices they need? And then digital skills, there's a lot around that in terms of whether people know how to navigate the internet. And again, do they have concerns, as Omar mentioned? Working through those things. Statewide approach to digital equity. MBI shared some recent updates. As we're doing these municipal digital equity plans, MBI is doing statewide digital equity plans. So we're going to keep you all informed of that and how you can get plugged into that, submit comments, and things like that. Also, 2 new programs that they'll be releasing soon. One is Gap Networks, very relevant to Easthampton, which is what are the gaps in the network and how can those be addressed? They have dollars available to support that. And then second, residential upgrades to retrofit wiring in public and affordable housing. We now know that there's roughly four subsidized housing complexes in Easthampton. So we're going to look at that and whether or not dollars can be applied to those properties. I'm going to hand it over. I'm going to hand it over to Jenny, who can share some high-level baseline conditions. Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny and I'm an urban planner at VHB, and I've been looking into some of the baseline conditions of Easthampton regarding access to devices, access to broadband, and then the public resources as well. So there are two primary providers in Easthampton. The first one is Charter Communications, also known as Spectrum, and T-Mobile, and you'll see T-Mobile is listed as a provider twice because there's actually two different speeds available depending on where you are in the community. And I will just briefly mention that there is an ongoing initiative to partner with GoNetspeed to bring more broadband to the community. GoNetspeed is a private ISP internet service provider, and they've done a lot of work around here. So they're considering, partnering with Easthampton to bring that network to the community. This graphic shows household internet subscriptions, where the darker blue represents the percentage of households without internet subscriptions. So you can see the northern/central part of Easthampton is more likely to not have access to internet subscription, whereas the lighter blue, those households do have internet subscriptions. So I got some numbers too. These are rough though, from the census data. So that central census tract has approximately 50% of households without internet, and then the other two tracts in Easthampton, approximately 5% of households don't have subscriptions. So this is some more data from the American Community Survey, the 5-year estimates from 2021. And the main points to see here is that all Easthampton residents have access to broadband, but not all residents have an internet subscription, and roughly 1 in 4 Easthampton residents with household incomes of under $20,000 have a broadband subscription. So that highlights where the discrepancies are, and obviously people with less money, lower incomes are less likely to have access to broadband and subscriptions to the internet. In terms of affordability, Mark highlighted the ACP program, the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is a federal program was initiated during COVID-19 to provide wireless internet to low-income households, which provides roughly $30 a month to offset the cost of internet to the household. And we found that ACP enrollment in Easthampton continues to grow. In August of 2023, which is the most recent number we can collect, 58 households had enrolled in ACP. In total now you have over 1,300 enrolled subscribers in the ACP program. And this shows that the ACP enrollment has actually sparked off a little bit from Hampshire County and from the state. So
Yes.
yeah, over the last 18 months, roughly 18 months from January 2022 to June 2023, that's where, started to get, there's been a change somehow, and there's been more information getting out to Easthampton residents as compared to the county and to the state to enroll into this program. And then this is showing the comparison with local communities. So one thing to note here is that Northampton has almost twice as many residents as Easthampton, but they have fewer subscribers overall. So in Easthampton, roughly 6% of households are enrolled in this program. Regional partnerships, we just want to highlight a little bit on the Western Massachusetts Alliance for Digital Equity. So this is a coalition of community-focused organizations working towards digital equity across 3 counties, Hampton County, Hampshire County, and Franklin County. We had a whole list of the organizations on here, but now there's getting to be too many organizations to name, which is great, but that represents a whole network of organizations that can work together, bounce ideas off of each other to help bridge this gap, not only in their individual institutions or in their communities, but across the whole section of the state. So in this section, I'll highlight some key public resources that already are making progress in addressing these gaps that serve as really key assets to the community of Easthampton. The first one is the public library. We talked to the librarian over there who told us that they do have technology help sessions that can answer computer questions, mobile device questions, and troubleshooting. and they have access to the internet. They have some hotspots available there that are taken out pretty frequently. There is some challenges though regarding staff and hardware to complete these longer term projects. So you can have the hardware and the computers in place now, but what happens when those computers break down and they need to be replaced? Is there going to be this constant stream of funding available to keep these programs and these these staff occupied? Is there going to be this timeline that can be consistent? They also need more grant funding for ongoing support and maintenance for their infrastructure, and then they're also looking into home support. Right now there's only digital support offered at the library itself. There's no one who can actually go out to community members and support them in their homes. Public schools. So the biggest issue with the schools right now is that students use Chromebooks, and which is great until the lifetime of those Chromebooks comes to an end, and then you need to replace all Chromebooks pretty much at once. The IT director at the school said that that's like a great concern because it will take so much funding to actually replace those Chromebooks. But they do have internet access available to students and teachers, and they have 40 hotspots, so that is good. They actually have more hotspots available than might be needed. They say that only a few get lent out at a time, but perhaps they could communicate that better to the students. And they do have an advanced focus on online safety. They have a lot of protective measures to understand what students are researching and make sure that everyone who's on their service is protected and safe. They do need more staff for trainings, and again, like I said before, with the Chromebooks, they'll need funding for technology replacement and software upgrades. E-media is another key staple in the community. Thank you, shout out E-media tonight. So E-media has a lot of devices and services available within their office in Eastworks. But they also have some challenges. Right now their broadband speed for uploading and downloading can be pretty slow, which definitely poses a problem when they're trying to post things online about town meetings such as this one. There's also a decrease in funding because a decreasing number of cable subscribers has brought down their funding by roughly 20% over 5 years. They are funded publicly through cable subscribers. And they're also seeking to partner with additional community assets like the municipal, the town administration itself, and the schools and the libraries to kind of connect these gaps and close them. So now this is when we're going to break down into the information station. So like Luke said, we'll just have you mill around between the 3 stations. We have some sticky dots that you can put like a green dot next to the statements that you agree with, red dot next to statements that you disagree with. We also have some post-it notes where you can write your own individual comments. So this is just the time to have this open conversation. But is there any questions first about the data that we presented tonight? Okay, awesome. So you can just kind of break up and start those conversations.
All right, so thanks everybody so much for coming tonight. Not to break up the discussions, but want to be respectful of everybody's time. This has been awesome. We've had some great conversations. We're going to synthesize some of those conversations. And really, as I was just mentioning to our group here, I'm excited to sort of just start to get a draft plan in place so that we can have something on paper that we can then respond to. Hey, this doesn't look right, let's change it. What about X, Y, Z? We forgot to add that, let's bring it in. We want to get all of your input on that draft once we get it started. And as well as the constellation, the 3D constellation of partners involved in this whole initiative and effort to get digital equity, so that we're not stepping on other partner's toes, and we're all being additive rather than duplicative. Let's all work together and get a plan in place. Yeah, it's going to focus a lot on the infrastructure questions, but we can't forget the other pieces too about training and digital literacy and people who don't speak English as a first language and elderly and all that. So we have to keep that in there. I know it's easy to get bogged down in the infrastructure questions, but it's going to be really open. So we'll aspire for that. But we'll be in touch with you guys. And thanks again. And we will have one more public meeting, which will keep you all up to date on that. And hopefully we won't be competing with a Halloween meeting that one. And we'll get a nice big group and really get, and at that point, group can have something to respond to. We'll have boards of what the plan said, the draft plan says. People can give their direct feedback on that. So thanks again. If you want to email us, please do with any thoughts, just like that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're good.
Thanks very much.